it's Valerie. Welcome back to this week's What's for Dinner. If you're new here, I'd love if you'd hit that subscribe button and join my YouTube family. Today I've got 3 inspirational meals for you again, and I hope that you enjoy them as much as we did. One of them is now one of our all-time favorites, and it is a soup. It is definitely not soup season here. It is like 80 something degrees, but I was craving something like this. And I was like, I'm just gonna do it. We have the AC on all day, so it was like very cold in the house, no big deal. And it did not disappoint. It was so good. It is like a low broth soup, so it's not very brothy. You could increase that with some additional broth if that's what you like. It was literally perfect to me. It was so much flavor, and my boyfriend loved it just as much. So definitely recommend that soup, and let's just get started. This first meal is peanut satay chicken with rice noodles. I'm starting off with about a pound of chicken that I've cut into thin slices. You can also cube it. Then I'm going to take some hoisin sauce, about 1 tablespoon of that. I'm also going to go ahead and add in 1 teaspoon of ginger and 1 teaspoon of garlic, maybe a little bit more garlic because I do love me some garlic, so it's probably more about a tablespoon. Then about 1/4 teaspoon of sesame oil. I'm just kind of eyeing that. A little bit of salt and pepper to taste. And then I'm just going to go ahead and give that all a good stir to get all of that chicken coated in all those sauces and seasonings. And we're going to go ahead and marinate this for about an hour. I'm marinating it in this glass bowl that I'm using to mix it all together. I just put a lid on it. And before that is done marinating, you're going to go ahead and prep your vegetables that you're going to want in this. I'm using a small red bell pepper and a small yellow bell pepper. You can change this up. You can add broccoli. A lot of different vegetables could work in this. This is just what I had on hand. Now you're going to want to heat a large skillet over medium-high heat to high heat. My pan actually says I can't use it over high heat, so I'm just using medium-high. High would give it that better darkened sear that I would prefer, but it still worked out. And you're just going to go ahead and cook this chicken for about 2 minutes on each side. I kind of just flipped it over. You can normally when I do cut up chicken like this, I kind of just toss it around with my spatula until it all is cooked through. But I actually chose to turn each piece here because I was trying to get some of that browning, even though I was using the medium-high heat. Now I just went ahead and removed the chicken to a plate, and in that same pan I'm going to go ahead and add in half of a blended onion. I just used my Ninja little processing cup and blended up an onion or half an onion, and I'm putting that in there, and I'm using that to kind of deglaze the pan and get up all those like brown bits. Then I'm going to go ahead and add in 1 can of coconut milk. And I'm just going to go ahead and give that a quick stir so that the more solidified parts of the coconut milk can start to dissolve. And then I'm going to go ahead and add in 2 tablespoons of peanut butter. I'm just using creamy peanut butter. And then 1 tablespoon of soy sauce, about 1.5 tablespoons of honey, maybe 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of chili flakes. Just season that with salt and pepper to your liking. And then I'm just going to go ahead and stir that all together, kind of get that nice and smooth. And I'm going to go ahead and let that simmer for a few minutes. Now I'm just going to go ahead and add in my chopped up peppers, and I just kind of stir those into the sauce and let them start to cook down for just a couple minutes. I just want them to get a little bit softened before I add the chicken back in, because I don't want the chicken cooking in there too long and getting like tough or anything like that. So once those have softened a bit, I'm going to go ahead and now add that chicken back in and let that start to reheat back up. I'm also going to cook up this package of rice noodles. And I thought I got a better clip here, but there's that, me just showing you how I cooked them. I just cooked them according to the package. I put some of those in my plate here. I put some of that chicken and sauce over the noodles, and I topped it with peanuts. I also served this with a side salad of this Asian chop kit salad. This could definitely be served over just white rice. It would have been just as good. The rice noodles don't taste any different than white rice to me, and it was really tasty. It's something different, which if you're not into like peanut sauces or anything like that, it can be definitely be different for you. But next time I make this, I want to add in a couple extra tablespoons of the peanut butter. I would have preferred more of a peanut butter taste to this, so next time I do that, I'm going to go ahead and add more in. This next meal is an Italian sausage and noodle soup. I'm starting off with my Dutch oven over medium heat with a couple tablespoons of olive oil, and now I'm adding in 1 pound of Italian ground sausage, and I'm just going to go ahead and break that up with my spatula here and let that begin to brown. Then I'm going to go ahead and add in some onion. I didn't really measure it, just a piece of onion that I had left, maybe about a small onion's worth. And I'm just going to go ahead and stir that onion in and let it begin to soften while the meat continues to cook. And we're just going to cook that sausage up until there's no more pink left. And next you're going to need 2 cans of Italian style diced tomatoes. I only had 1 regular can and then 1 can with the basil oregano. So I'll just add a little extra seasoning later on. But you're just going to go ahead and put those in with your meat. I just gave that a nice stir. We're going to let this kind of like start to simmer. I'm going to season that with some salt and pepper, as well as some garlic powder. These are no real measurements. I'm just kind of seasoning to my liking. So salt, pepper, garlic powder, Italian seasoning, and a little bit of oregano. And I'm just going to go ahead and give that all a good stir and let that continue to just start to simmer. And then I'm going to go ahead and add in about 1/4 to 1/2 cup of heavy cream. And again, stir that together. This isn't a very brothy soup. If you want it more brothy, of course, you can add some broth. But now I'm just adding in about 4 to 6 ounces of roughly chopped mushrooms and an 8-ounce bag of spinach. Kind of just going to push it down in there. I'm going to end up putting the lid on top of my Dutch oven and just letting that simmer and that spinach cook down. Meanwhile, I brought a large pot of water to boil. I heavily salted it, and I'm going to add in this 1 pound box of ziti noodles and just cook that to package directions. Once the pasta was done, I took a cup of the pasta water and I'm adding that into the soup. You see me only adding part of it, but I do use the whole cup's worth. I just kind of wanted to see at first if it was going, like how brothy it was going to become. Now I'm just adding in about 1/2 cup of mozzarella cheese, and I had a little bit of this Parmesan Romano Asiago blend that I just poured in there. It's not much. Then about another 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese, and I'm just going to go ahead and give that all a good stir so that cheese can start melting throughout all of this soup. Now I'm just going to go ahead and add in my drained pasta noodles and just give that all a really good stir to get all the sausage and sauces coating all of that pasta. Like I said, this isn't super brothy. It's got a nice like light coverage of sauce over all the noodles. It's really so perfect. Like, I am amazed how absolutely delicious this soup was. It is most definitely not soup weather here. It is like 80 something degrees, but this just sounded really good, and let me tell you, it did not disappoint. If you try anything, definitely give this a try. It was amazing. And I added some just fresh Italian parsley chopped up on top, and maybe a little extra mozzarella on top, and I served this with a chunk of sourdough bread with some butter. Let me tell y'all, so good. This last meal is Tuna BLT Melts. To start off, I'm cooking 6 pieces of bacon real quick in the oven, and I'm just doing that at about 400 degrees for about 15-20 minutes. Just keep an eye on that. And I also wanted some home fries to go with this, so I just took a few russet potatoes, about 3, but mine were having all these bad spots. I really don't like when there are like bruised or dead spots at all. Like, I have to cut them off. So yeah, but I'm just cutting those into some thin strips, and put some avocado oil on them. I'm seasoning them with salt, pepper, some of this garlic Parmesan seasoning, and I just want a little extra garlic flavor, so I also added some of that garlic and herb seasoning that I get from Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to go ahead and toss those all to coat it with the oil and the seasonings evenly, and I air fried these at 400 degrees for about 20 minutes. I would say 15 to 20 if you, depending on your air fryer, so you could check them at 15. For the tuna, I'm just going to prepare it the way I like it. With this, you can have it as much of a quantity as you need for your family. We just needed a couple of cans. So I'm just putting 2 cans of drained tuna and some mayonnaise. I love green onions in my tuna, and I like a lot of them. I just think they complement it so well. I'm seasoning that with some onion powder, garlic powder, some sweet relish, some pepper. I'm not doing salt because tuna is salty on its own. You could add more if you like it. Just make your tuna however you like. I'm also just going to be thinly slicing some tomato here. This is just a Roma tomato. This is the bread I'm going to use. I love this bread, this nut and grain bread. I just think it's really great with tuna too. And I'm using American cheese because that's really how I like my BLTs and my tuna melts. So of course you could use cheddar, whatever cheese you like. I'm just putting that across the bottom of my bread. I'm going to put the tuna on top of that, and you're just kind of doing this to your preference, however you normally make your sandwiches. I'm just splitting up that tuna between our 2 sandwiches. I like a lot of tuna, so making sure to pile that nice and high. It really goes well with that nutty type bread. It's super good. And I'm going to top that with the lettuce and the tomato. And I'm putting these between the bacon and the tuna because I want them to not get a majority of the heat. Like, I want the bacon side and the tuna side to get the most heat. I don't necessarily want a super hot tomato and lettuce. And then I'm just buttering the outside of my bread on both sides. You can use mayonnaise. I really like mayonnaise on it. It actually comes out crispier than butter to me. And I'm using this George Foreman like panini press. But next time I do this, I'm going to do it in a pan, and I'm going to definitely use mayonnaise. I really would have preferred if it got like more crispy, and I definitely feel like pan frying it and with the mayonnaise would have been more crispy, like my grilled cheese when I make them. And I served that with those home fries. This was really delicious, quick, easy, yummy meal. Thanks so much for watching, friends. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and that bell so you don't miss out on any future What's for Dinner videos. And I hope you all are having a great week.